The protest, which we have been hearing about in Nigeria, has started. The purpose of the protest is to end bad governance. The situation in Nigeria right now is incredibly tough. We have had bad governance for a long time. This isn't the first bad government that took power in Nigeria. However, I don't think it has ever been as bad as now. And there are people who can barely afford to eat once a day. There are children who are out of school because they're not able to go to school. The parents cannot afford it. My advice to the government is don't try to fight, try to listen and do better. I will keep you posted on everything that is going on. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back. I had to rush here and record this episode quickly because the protest, which we have been hearing about in Nigeria, has started. This is a protest that is going on all over Nigeria. Probably one of the biggest that have ever happened in the country. The purpose of the protest is to end bad governance. Yes, because the situation in Nigeria right now is incredibly tough, and it was made worse by a bad government whose legitimacy is very questionable. And I say very questionable because for those who watched the last elections that took place in Nigeria, it was very obvious that a lot of people's votes were not counted. A lot of people were not allowed to vote. There was a lot of fraud going on. And I'm not talking about hearsay. Watching it even from the news from over here, we were able to see it. So it's something that everybody knows. And yes, it was taken to court and whatnot, but again, we saw it. So the legitimacy of the government is questionable. The people's will was not listened to, and that has led to the current situation in the country. I will say that we have had bad governance for a long time. This isn't the first bad government that took power in Nigeria. However, I don't think it has ever been as bad as now. There are people who can barely afford to eat once a day. Barely. It's a luxury for them to eat once a day. There are children who are out of school because they're not able to go to school. The parents cannot afford it. The protests, you can see mothers, fathers, young professionals. You even could see mothers with their babies and their children coming to the protest because they're trying to show that the reason why they're doing this is for a better future for the children. I've said before on this podcast that when people come together, specifically the youths, in a united voice and fight against injustice, it is incredibly strong. They have incredible power. This is not the first protest that has happened in Nigeria. The EndSARS protest happened before now, which of course we've all heard of, and we all saw the images that were terrifying of what was done to the protesters. I think the government thought that because of what they did to the protesters, that is shooting innocent civilians who were protesting for their rights, that was going to be the end of it. But how long are you going to shoot people? How long are you going to try to quiet the masses? How long are you going to do it? How long before people say, I am ready to give it my all to fight for a better future for us and for our children? This protest, honestly, I don't have insider information, but I can tell you it doesn't end here. Until things get better in the country, until finally the will of the people is listened to, and the people that are elected are the people that were actually voted in and not rigged in, it will continue to happen. Because that is what happens when you push people against the wall. That is what happens when you take away hope from people. When you take away the ability to dream. I'm not even talking of dreaming big. Dreaming big right now is a privilege that so many people in Nigeria do not have. I'm talking to dream at all. When you do that, then people are willing to risk their lives and come out and protest against the injustice that is being done to the people of Nigeria. My advice to the government, if at all they will listen, is don't try to fight, try to listen and do better. The cost of fuel is incredibly expensive. People are not able to put fuel in their cars, in their buses, to go to work, to go farming, to do anything. The cost of food is incredibly expensive. The everyday needs that usually you would think most people have, it's just too high. Things need to change. Things need to change. And like I said, it's not going to end here. How many people are you going to shoot? How many people are you going to try to bully out of protesting? How many people? Just tell me, how many people? When there are people literally dying of hunger, you think that they're not willing to risk their lives to come out and protest against what is being done? You can see all the images and videos that I'm showing in this episode, which I'm actually doing just to give you an idea of what is really going on in the country right now. I also heard and saw images of protests going on in the UK. Still, Nigerians protested against the bad government. I would not be surprised if this happens in more parts of the world because you have Nigerians everywhere. And the police officers who are coming out to try and fight against the protests, I'm not sure what they're coming out to do. If they want to be honest with themselves, the situation affects them as well. The situation affects them as well. I don't think there's no officer who, if they want to be honest, will say that the situation in Nigeria is sustainable. It is not. I'm honestly very proud of all the people that have come out to protest, and I really hope that eventually the people's voice will be heard and that there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. I will keep you posted on everything that is going on. I'm going to make sure that I cover everything. I know that I received a lot of requests about that, so I'm going to ensure to do that. And as usual, don't leave me alone to be talking to myself. Go into the comment section, tell me what you think, share, like, and subscribe to the episode. And thank you very much for tuning in.